Hey guys, this is Mel, and I'm here to talk about Supernatural episode 1519 titled Inherit the Earth, which premiered Thursday, November 12th, 2020 on the CW. I'm recording 15 minutes after the episode has aired, so huge spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the episode already, please go do so first, and then come back and see what I have to say about the episode. My other video reminders are up on screen, so take a moment to remind yourselves of those. Huge YouTube shoutouts for my commenters on my previous video. Thank you to Rodrigo Rodriguez, Jen Velos, Terry L, Elizabeth Morrison, OTNat 2094 for the convention link. Thank you for that. I watched it right after I got that, so thank you. And also to Egg Winston. Thank you guys for your comments on my previous video. Truly appreciate it. It was a whirlwind of an episode for sure. And then this one, it's just kicked me in the bucket really much. But yeah, let's just start right into it for sure. Because I really, even 15 minutes after, I really don't know what to expect now. But before we really get into it, there is something I completely forgot to mention in my 1518 video. And I did technically record a different thing for a video, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit now. After what happened with Castiel in the previous episode, I just started thinking about how huge of a response I got out of that video as opposed to my response to what happened in episode 713 of the 100 after Bellamy died. Spoiler alert, sorry. And I just thought they're very vastly different. I mean, let me know in the comments down below if you actually want me to post that video where I go into how the two reactions I got from them differ in a sense, because I thought since it did touch on two major characters dying in the final season, and then the way it was dealt with resulted in very different response from me as a fan, which I thought was very telling in itself. So if you want, comment down below if you want me to post that video. I'll get right into editing that right after this. I might do it now. I don't know, just let me know. But otherwise, let's get right into this episode because, again, I still don't know what to expect, and we'll kind of talk about why. But timeline-wise for 1519 is that it continues from the events of 1518 and where it left off, or you can kind of say it doesn't directly continue, or I guess it shortly takes after it because Dean still has to travel from the bunker to Hastings, Minnesota, so from Lebanon to Hastings. So whatever that time it takes, that's the time difference between the end of 1518 and the start of 1519. A huge episode reminder, I'm going to call it Chuck's End or Chuck's Ending, if you will. Plus also just a reminder, Jensen has said in interviews that 1519 was meant to be the season finale of what was happening, and then 1520 is meant to act as like the true series finale. So this episode was meant to tie up a lot of loose ends, which I can see why now, but then it has me very worried for what's to come, and we'll talk about it a little bit later. So with that said, the storyline breakdowns for this episode, I'm going to bring it down to two. First one being trying to read Chuck's death book, because without Billy, there's no one they can find to do it. And then the second one's actually coming face to face with Chuck. So with the first storyline, we get Sam, Dean, and Jack recruiting Michael after Jack finally feels Michael's presence a few days after finding out that they're alone in the world, because that's the way Chuck wants it. But then shortly after that, they find out that Chuck had resurrected Lucifer from the empty to get him to go retrieve Chuck's death book, with Lucifer claiming that it was the empty who wanted the book instead of Chuck himself. So that resulted in a Michael versus Lucifer fight. This is kind of the showdown what we were meant to have in episode 522. Rightfully so, because we do get Jake back to play Michael, and then we got Mark coming back to play Lucifer, which is how it was set up in 522, supposedly, if you take out Sam having to be Lucifer. But anyways, we got that. We also so we see Michael actually killing Lucifer, like he fulfilled his own destiny. Kind of a little bit different than what happened in 1323, where we had Apocalypse or Dean killing Lucifer thanks to Apocalypse Michael possessing him. But anyways, we do get the whole Michael Dean fight, which was very unexpected, to be honest. And then with the second storyline with facing Chuck, we get not Mike. Technically it is Mike, but Michael reporting back to Chuck about and proving that he's a loyal son and kind of giving him a heads up on what the Winchesters are up to, but then only to have Sam and Dean reveal the true plan to deceive Michael so that they can use the chance to pretty much reactivate Jack as the cosmic bomb. And because every time any cosmic energy was used around Jack, he kept on absorbing it and absorbing it to the point where in the end, when the Winchesters just kept letting Chuck beat on him, Jack was taking all that energy in so that he could steal Chuck's powers as God and pretty much rendering him a human. And they left him there like that. So there's that. But the last scene of the episode, I'll say the last true scene of the episode, and I'll explain why, is Sam and Dean in the bunker after saying goodbye to Jack, and them just sitting there with a beer, realizing that they're finally free to write their own stories without Chuck dictating what their life is going to be. And they smiled after that realization for the first true time. And then they go hit the road. Now, while they're hitting the road, we get a whole slew of archive footage in a series of a montage of the full show. And that brought me to tears because I wasn't expecting it. And then the very last shot of the episode is that the car trunk scene in the end of the pilot where we all know Sam tells Dean, we've got work to do, and Sam shuts the trunk. We don't hear that we've got work to do, but it's that whole visual of Sam closing the trunk is how the episode ends. And yeah, and now we got one more to go, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But tidbits, though, there was a point that Sam had asked about Adam, and Michael reveals that Adam was killed when the rest of humanity got snapped out of existence, but because Michael is an archangel, he kept Adam's form, and that's why he sought out refuge in one of the churches named after Michael. I think the St. Michael's Church or something. And then he also revealed that while he was not trying to use any power to like tip himself off, he was spending his time researching about what humanity's perception is about God and angels and all that. And he even revealed that he did too well of a job of preserving God's image. He's the one that kept his image alive when he left, resulting in churches being erected and stories and stuff like that. So that's what we learned from Michael. We do have the MT being referenced, but since Lucifer mentioned, I don't know if the MT is still the same entity. If it's not someone else taking control, I don't know if that makes sense even. So there's that. We have Jack being the new god after he took Chuck's powers away from him, and revealing that Amara is at peace and living harmoniously with Jack. So they maintain the balance of light and dark in the embodiment of Jack. So that's something there. We also see Jack restoring humanity, but that begs the question of everybody was able to be restored before Chuck started snapping them out of existence or not, but we just know that the streets are now filled with people once again. So there's that. We also do hear Jody's voicemail when Sam is checking in to see if everyone is truly dead or not. I don't know if that's an old recording, if they literally got Kim Rhodes in just to record a voicemail or something. But that was something. And then also we also get a fake call from Cass because of Lucifer. Pretty much Cass begging Dean to let him in. He's hurt pretty badly. He needs help. And then Dean's rushing out to get to Cass only to find out that's Lucifer, which was a bum. But Dean does tell Sam and Cass about, or not Sam and Cass, does tell Sam and Jack about Castiel's death. But he does not tell them about the confession that Castiel said to him. That is just going to be left between him and Dean. So that's something there. Now, end tally, death tally, we do have Betty, that Reaper, being killed twice by Lucifer. First time as a Reaper, which then turned her into the new Death. And then Lucifer killed her again to take the book. So Betty died twice by Lucifer. And then we have Lucifer being killed by Michael. And then we have Michael being killed by Chuck. And then Chuck as God, you can kind of count as being killed by Jack. But Chuck's still alive, but now he's a human. It's kind of reminiscent of when Castiel got turned into a human in season 9. And then same when Jack had to experience it a little bit in season 14? No, 15. The beginning of 15, I believe. So there's that. But moving on to most shocking moments of the episode. First off, I think it has to be Jack becoming the new god and not the new Death. I know a lot of people in the beginning, when they started talking when Jack got resurrected and about Billy's plan, everyone, and I know I did too, thought maybe they were gearing Jack up to maybe replace Chuck and become the new god after he kills Chuck and Amara. But then after last week's episode where the plants were suddenly dying around Jack, I thought maybe, oh, he might be the new Death. Especially since Billy was dying. So I thought, okay, maybe that's where it's headed. But then the whole Reaper thing happened with Lucifer bringing Betty on. I'm like, okay, if she's actually the new Death, then Jack isn't the new Death then. So that kind of surprised me where it came back all the way around where he actually did become the new god. So that was a happy surprise there. And then another shock for me is the fact that this really felt more season finale or series finale than season finale. Because usually for a season finale, we would end on a cliffhanger, naturally. Right? And since this was meant to be viewed as a season finale, I was expecting some type of cliffhanger. I wasn't expecting the montage, that was for sure. But I was expecting something that would set me up for what to expect in the series finale. And we didn't get that. So, which is surprising me as well. But now I'm just really, really terrified as to what we have in store for us in the final episode. Because I have nothing gearing me up. Is it going to be a regular case? Is Chuck coming back with a vengeance or something in some way? I don't know. So, yeah, I have no idea what to expect. So that was the shocker there. The fact that the ending of this episode felt more series finale than season finale, if that made sense. But familiar faces, let's go right into that. Michael, it was already hyped up to the fact that Michael was returning for one of the episodes, so I already knew that. Lucifer was a huge shock to see Mark Pellegrino again as Lucifer, completely floored. And then obviously Chuck is a familiar face because he's the big bad of the season. But just the fact that we got 3 major chess pieces from like the whole mythology of the show is huge, I thought, especially when you take into consideration that this episode was the first one they actually filmed with the COVID restrictions. And they were very clever in how they did it. So I was just surprised that how much we got, for sure. And I'm just like, wow. So that was something there for familiar faces. But let's move on to top 3 favorites. First off, I really loved it when Dean was explaining to Chuck like how they got to deceive him, how they tricked Michael, how they found out that Jack was absorbing all this power and how they used that to their advantage when he absorbed the powers between Michael and Lucifer when they were fighting, how he was absorbing power when Chuck was beating all the Winchesters, which them beating on them and them always getting back up in the moment when we're not realizing that it was because they were helping to power Jack up. The fact that the Winchesters kept getting up every time they got beaten down so badly by Chuck is just a symbol in itself that they're always going to keep fighting. Nothing's going to keep them down. Even though they're against the biggest bad in the universe right now, they're still getting up to stand against him, regardless if they know that they're going to die. And I thought that was such a huge, powerful message of always keep fighting. But then to find out that it was all because they needed it to power Jack up is like perfect. You guys had a plan from the very beginning. And I loved how it was done. I loved how we got the explanation, but then we also got the flashbacks of how it was done, showing the previous scenes in a different perspective. I really love it when things are done that way. It has me thinking maybe, oh, how am I going to get that type of effect in one of my current projects right now? Just because I love how you always go back and pick up things in a new way that you maybe would have missed because of the perception of a scene. Like with Jack walking across the plants and they were all dying. We were watching from Jack's perspective, but then when Dean was telling it, they were watching from inside the diner that happened, which we wouldn't have known about because we were focusing more on Jack. So I really love how that was being played out. It also kind of reminded me of when, now that I think about it, it kind of reminded me the deception of like when Dean took on Eve, the mother of all, in 619, where he ingested the Phoenix Ash. And then he goaded her into biting him so that she would ingest the Phoenix Ash that would kill her. Like, stuff like that. And then him explaining, like, how he deceived and how proving that they're smarter than what their enemies believe to be. So it was a really favorite moment, shining moment for them, for sure. So that's one there. Second favorite I had was Jack's speech about being the new god, about his interpretation of the new power and how he has learned not only from the mistakes that Chuck has made, but also from his teachings from Sam Dean and Castiel, and also from what Kelly had taught him while he was still in her womb. And I just really love that we got to see the growth of Jack and how he was really trying to take it all in. He was trying to be as peaceful and try more of the belief and the faith in ourselves kind of a thing. It was really inspiring too, just to see him interpret things in this way, and then also to find out that Amara wasn't fighting this fusion with him, even though Jack just quote unquote killed her cosmic twin, even though Chuck is still alive, but he's no longer on the same power level as him, and now she's stuck with Jack. And to find out that she's living harmoniously within him, I thought like that was like a huge acceptance piece right there. So I was like perfect for that. Another favorite I had was just having Michael and Lucifer, not only having them back, but also having them interact with each other, which I thought was pretty cool because it kind of reminded me of when Lucifer reunited with Gabriel in the end of season 12. Yeah, at the end of season 13. And it was really interesting to see Lucifer interacting with his Michael and not necessarily with Apocalypse Michael. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And then to just have that fight between them again and just see that the weird dynamic, I shouldn't say weird, but it's very toxic dynamic they had between each other. I thought that was pretty cool. The fact that we got Jake and Mark to come back as Michael and Lucifer is just like, that's a huge thing. So I really like that. Another favorite, very small, but it's a huge telling moment, and that's with Sam and Dean realizing that they were finally free. I couldn't help but laugh with the fact that Dean said finally free, because that is a Julie and the Phantoms song right there, and it's a beautiful song. But I just love that not only that they shared this moment, but the fact that you could see the true joy on the face of realizing that they finally have a choice. Like, it's finally, their fate is finally in their hands. They're not playing by anybody else's rules. And just having kind of the semi-hug because of COVID and all that, but then to have those smiles was just like, yes, finally. Even though they've lost so much, to finally have that one victory that they've been working for and thought they would never have was just like perfect. And then finally, the last favorite I had was the huge memory montage at the very end. I did not know I was going to be getting that. I kind of thought I'd be getting that in next week's episode, in the series finale. But to get that this week, it had me in tears when I saw all the old and new faces, all the old memories. I'm like, oh, I remember that episode and this one and this one. I just started bawling my eyes out. And I'm just like, you attacked me a week early. I was preparing myself for next week to bawl my eyes out, not this week, and they still pulled it off. And I was just like, wow, okay, we're good. So they did a really good job, and it's just like, I don't know, it just hits you more when you get that montage of 15 years worth of experience from them. It's just like, yeah. So there's that. Top 3 peeve moments. I really don't have any peeves. I mean, I thought it was really well done, considering this is, like I mentioned, this is the first episode where they had to take into account the COVID restrictions for filming. But based on the narrative itself, it already looked like it was going to go in that direction where they had very limited number of characters. Yes, did I wish I got more familiar faces? Sure. But given the narrative that it was, it made sense why we only had Sam, Dean, and Jack for a bunch of it before we get into Michael, and then we got Lucifer, and then we got Chuck. But even their distance between each other, it made sense because a lot of them were enemies with each other. The only time they were ever close was Sam and Dean were always the ones that were close enough to break that restriction, and then sometimes Jack might be part of that, but otherwise they kept a good distance. So I thought they did a really good job, so I didn't really have any issues with it. I was kind of worried that, and then also when they showed that the humanity was populated again, it's not like those, I don't think those would be scenes that they would have to naturally go shoot themselves. They probably got it from archive footage from old things or something before the pandemic even happened, you know what I mean? So it was clever substitutions, if you will. But I thought I had no issues. Like I thought there'd be huge changes because of COVID and they had to just move things around. But really, it looked like it would have if we didn't have COVID. You know what I mean? So there's that. But let's move on to random questions very quickly. First one. Did Jack leave to restore the multiverse? When he said he restored humanity, and we've seen all around the world that people are back where they were before they got snapped, I understand that. But does that mean he was able to do the same thing for all the other worlds that got destroyed? Or is that Jack's next step to restore the rest of the other planets? That's my question there. Another question, are the apocalypse survivors still on this Earth? I guess it ties in with my first question because I'd hope they're still on this Earth, and then maybe when Jack's done fixing all the other Earths, then he can put the original apocalypse survivors back on their original Earth. I don't know. Or maybe he'll just keep them here. Who knows? But that's a question there. Next question. If Jack is the new god, then who is the new death? Or do we really have to wait for the next Reaper to die to then become the new death? I don't know if I want some no name to be the new death. I mean, I did see it somewhere. I apologize if I don't remember. If I do by the time I edit this, hopefully it's up on screen. But I'm pretty sure I saw the theory that people were hoping that maybe Castiel might be, or not Castiel. They said that he'd be the new ruler of the MT. But I'm wondering if maybe a familiar face that we know would be the new death. I think I'd prefer that than just having some random face being death. Or maybe Jack will decide who would be the new death. I don't know. But I'm wondering if the way they dictate who the new death is, if that's going to be, if that's going to change. But also Betty, it seemed very easy for her to be killed. Or I don't know if it's because it was an archangel who killed her, and that's why it seemed easier. But it always felt like death could only die from their own weapon. You know what I mean? So there's that. And my last question. This felt like a series finale, this episode. So my question is, what the fuck do they have planned for the actual finale next week? Because not knowing even a hint of what to suspect has me a little anxious, has me terrified, has me probably going to be on the edge of my seat that day, and I'm probably not going to be paying attention in class that I have. But let's go right into predictions because this is what I need to talk about. The promo for 1520 is not even an actual promo. They pretty much preview the featurette that happens at 8 o'clock, and then the finale airs at 9 o'clock. So the promo is pretty much gearing up for the fact that we're going to have this celebration an hour before the finale starts. But then maybe throughout the promo, there's probably only one scene in the bunker with a whole bunch of people in it that I don't recognize. And I'm thinking that has to be a finale scene. But yet I don't know who those people could be, kind of a thing. You know what I mean? So I'm very worried to know what they have in store for us after how they finish things in this episode. And then the synopsis for the episode doesn't even tell me anything at all because it only reads, quote, the end. And then after 15 seasons, the longest running sci-fi series in the US is coming to an end. Baby, it's the final ride for saving people and hunting things. That does not tell me anything. Like, usually I love that because I don't want too much spoilers from the synopsis because sometimes there are long synopses that pretty much gives away the whole episode. And then Supernatural is pretty good in not doing that. But this right here tells me nothing. You could just pretty much tell me series finale, and that's it. I have no clue from this. I have no clue from the promo. I'm pretty much going in this blind because this episode didn't leave me with a cliffhanger whatsoever. So I have no idea, prediction-wise, where we could start off come next week. I have no idea. So please, anybody, comment down below if maybe you picked up on something. What are your own predictions of what they could do in this series finale? Is Chuck going to be an issue? Is he going to try to get his powers back? Is there going to be some kind of cosmic balance thing? Is the MT going to be an issue or something? Is the new death that we're going to get an issue? Is it going to be, are we going to go back to the old school solo case that we got in season 1 and just go back to the family business of saving people, hunting things, and then maybe that goes sideways? I don't know. I do not want Sam and Dean to die after all this. They finally have their potentially happily ever after, and then I can't have them die. Like, no. And then it's like, I have no idea what to expect. None whatsoever. So please let me know your predictions down below in the comments. Would love to hear about it. Let's all be anxious together in this final week in the waiting for it. But also don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check my other videos if you haven't done so already. Click the notification bell if you want to be notified of when I upload next. It's sometimes inconsistent, I will admit to that. Also, if you want to check out or follow me on Tumblr. Link for that is down below. I read blog promos, web clips, quotes, gifs, synopses, news, all that good stuff all found in one place. Go check that out. Should probably get to updating that today. Probably should, because I start classes again on Tuesday. I should do that beforehand. It's like a day thing for me when I go back on Tumblr. It's like a day's event. So anyway, there's that. WordPress, same thing. Link for that is down below. Anything I post online is connected to WordPress. A little more organized, a little more detailed, but still in work in progress once again. Also, live journal entry link down below in the description box. Jot noted recaps of the episode as I watch them for the first time. Been doing it since season 6. Might as well do it to the very end. I've already come this far. So check that out. Nothing from season 15 is posted just yet as I'm recording this, because I have to format and color it and make it legible for you guys first. So there's that if you want to check that out too. This is I started this long before PVR was a thing, long before the online streaming was a common thing. And I literally only had my cable and the 1 hour time I had to watch the episode until the DVDs came out. So there's that. Otherwise, also, other things I want to question about for you guys is the question of whether you want a separate video of me talking about the comparisons between the Supernatural and the 100 in the major deaths that they did in the final episode, or the final season. I do have it recorded, it's just whether or not you guys want me to edit it to see it. Is a decision of whether you want that now or later. Also, another video I did record and I just have to edit it and post it up, but I did do a season ranking of Supernatural. Figured I'd do it before the series finale. And I did it through the tier rating. So the whole screen record, everything. I did it once before with Julie and the Phantoms and the songs. Thought I'd do it again for Supernatural. So if you guys want notification bell to know when that video goes up, I'm hoping to have it posted before the finale airs. So there is that. So that's all the information, that's all the news I want to give you guys. Comment down below again, predictions, your thoughts about whether you want the Supernatural 100 comparison video. And yeah, also watch Julie and the Phantoms. Again, I'll say it until I get a season 2. Go watch it on Netflix. Bring up the viewer count. Awesome show. Especially if you feeling depressed about Supernatural ending, just go hop on to Julie and the Phantoms and be cheered up by their enthusiasm and their awesome songs. But I will leave it at that though, guys. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for previous comments, reviews, interactions. I truly appreciate it, guys, so much. Gonna need the support in this final week of anticipation for the show, because I still can't believe that's coming to an end. So I hope you guys enjoy that final ride with me. But until then, guys, this is Mel. Wish you all a great day, great week wherever you are. I better go answer that. Bye for now.